And as for Raw, look, credit where credit is due. Raw was a decent show, I thought. There was loads of wrestling on it, which is what I want when I tune in to watch wrestling. It was a bit too much. It got a bit too structured after a while. It was very much like match, interview with Charlie Caruso, match, interview with Sarah Sharber, match, interview with Charlie Caruso. So it kind of had this odd flow to it. It was less manic than it usually is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing whatsoever. I thought we did a good job with Drew McIntyre. In fact, let's just start there. Because what I loved the most about Drew McIntyre was that he was having a match with Andrade, and it made all the sense in the world, especially if you're a long-term fan, that I imagine a lot of us are. It's kind of going back to stuff in 2017, maybe 18. I can't remember when they had that match. But obviously when Andrade took on Drew McIntyre for the NXT Championship and Andrade won it back, Drew McIntyre did tear his bicep, and those two guys have never crossed paths again. And then you got Drew McIntyre coming out at the start of Raw and saying, hey, I'll take any challenger. And who's there? Oh, it's Andrade with a perfectly good story about why he thinks he'd be able to get one over Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre sold it brilliantly. That was really cool. And it kind of, the other theme for Raw, I found, was everything felt fresh. If you go through every single match, I don't think I'd seen what I'm sure I have at some point, but it didn't feel like we were doing reruns. It didn't feel like we were doing rematches. There were a few new guys that were interesting to see. I mean, a little bit like, enhancement talent, as they say, but hey ho, it's still nice to see somebody new with my eyes. So all in all, yeah, I got a kick out of it. I thought it was decent. I really did. Asuka advanced to Money in the Bank by beating Ruby Riott. See, this is the weird thing about WWE, is that you get this Drew McIntyre Andrade storyline, which makes perfect sense, right? Really interwoven over the last few years. And then you get Asuka versus Ruby Riott. Here comes Ruby Riott, who we haven't seen in weeks. And there's no mention why she's no longer feuding with Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. None. You don't know why they didn't. I saw a contract signing between them where they were jumping over tables to beat each other up. And then, 4, 5, 6 weeks later, it just got dropped. It's a strange company. I shouldn't say it's a strange company. It's just a strange set of storylines that you never actually know which way they're going to go. But we shrug our shoulders and we'll move on regardless. So it was a really, really good match. I think Asuka has been the MVP of all of this closed arena stuff. I think over the week she has adapted her in-ring style so that there's no fans. I think her weird dancing gimmick is bizarre in all the best possible ways. I think she comes across well. I can't think of the better word. I was going to say like a star, but that makes it sound like I didn't think she came across like a star before, and I did. She just gets it. She really, really does. And I thought this match was really good. I did. I got a massive kick out of it. And then Asuka wins by tapping out Ruby Riott. I don't know what we do with Ruby Riott now because she seems utterly lost in the shuffle. But you could say that for everybody in the Riott squad, or the former Riott squad, because Liv Morgan wasn't on television after she was on last week. Or is she a SmackDown? No, she's Raw because she had the whole Lana thing. So you didn't see anything with her. And then we'll transition to Shayna Baszler versus Sarah Logan, which was also Money in the Bank ladder match qualifier. I do like the qualifying. I like the qualifying matches because it makes it feel like a tournament, right? A mini tournament. And I get a massive kick out of that. I do. I think it's good. I didn't really understand this. Shayna Baszler should be being booked this way. You know, she's an animal. She's a monster. She's going to take you out. She's going to rip you to shreds. But she stood on Sarah Logan's arm here. And apparently it was such a devastating move in all of sports entertainment that it broke her arm, it broke her elbow, and the referee was so disgusted by this that he called off the match. And then there was a bunch of confusion because the ring announcer said that Sarah Logan had won. I was like, bro, definitely hasn't won. You may think she has, but she has not. And then it turned out that Shayna Baszler had won by what, forfeit? By ref stoppage? I just don't understand why the referee would stop the match. So the thing I took away from it as a wrestling nerd is that really it's just an indicator of how WWE sees Liv Morgan at the moment. Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan at the moment. She's a body on the roster that clearly was able to get to Florida, and therefore she could just be put in here. I don't understand why we couldn't have had a competitive match. Not necessarily a competitive match, because again, I do understand why you want Shayna Baszler to come across like that. I would have rather she just got Kira Fuda clutched in 30 seconds. I think that would have been better. I don't understand this arm thing. And I know that Shayna's done it before. I know it's not anything new. But I just didn't buy it as a reason that you'd stop the match or that Sarah Logan wouldn't want to keep fighting. And they sold it all somber, like, oh, something terrible has happened here. But I don't know. It's well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I would imagine we're building to Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch again because we had a Becky Lynch promo where Becky simply talked about It was all focused on Shayna. I thought it's fine. There was nothing, I wouldn't say it was good or bad. It was just kind of there. I did like the line about how, the Queen doesn't even worry about the Joker or the Jester, whichever one she used, because they're not even a threat to her, even though the Joker/Jester can get closer to the Queen than anybody. And that was kind of an analogy for her being silly. And I know that she was sat in a chair with the King's crown and everyone was saying, oh, what's she doing? But she also did sneak up behind Shayna Baszler and twonk her with a chair. It wasn't like it was completely silly times, 100%. So, but it was a fine promo. And I think that Shayna Baszler, I don't think she'll win Money in the Bank. Maybe she will. No, because I think you want to go straight into that program. It'll be one of those weird things where she doesn't win Money in the Bank and yet she still gets a title shot. But I don't think she's going to win the belt at this stage. I think the WWE absolutely needed to pull the trigger at WrestleMania 36. I understand why they didn't, because they wanted to focus on baby faces, which is also fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think we're going to get the Shayna Baszler that I'd hoped we would have done when she first arrived, which is a shame, because during the Elimination Chamber, that's absolutely what we got, and it kicked ass. I thought she was a great new character or addition to the Raw roster. The only thing I'm worried about when it comes to Becky's championship is there's not that much depth. Let's say that Charlotte is taken out and she's going to focus on NXT, which they made clear here today. Bayley, Sasha Banks, they're on SmackDown. So on Raw, you've got Ruby Riott, not established. Asuka, we've done that. Kairi, Sane, we'll talk about. Sarah Logan, you understand. Liv Morgan, same. Lana's not really an active competitor. If Ronda Rousey comes back, fine. But it seems strange to me not to try and be building some of these women up. I mean, obviously they're doing that with Nia Jax, but that's still only one extra person. I think we have other people we could dedicate time to that will allow Becky's title run to actually be extended, because they'll be in a decent position to then challenge. So, interesting, I will go with. But look, there were decent matches. Maybe you loved it, maybe you didn't. Let's talk about Kairi Sane first, because I don't want to get too distracted. I think that WWE has treated Nia Jax over the last 2 weeks exactly like you should treat a character like Nia Jax. I even think that Nia Jax gets a little bit of a hard rap. I certainly don't hate her like some people do. I know we had the incident with Becky Lynch, and I'm never going to advocate for people being injured, but I've also been in a wrestling ring and I know that accidents can happen. I've never injured anyone, thank goodness, but it has happened to me and it's been completely nobody's fault. So I'm not going to jump down her throat. And again, I think going back to what we just said about the Raw Women's division, she brings something different. And that's massively important right now. But why we had to put Kairi Sane in there to get eaten alive just doesn't make any sense. Well, it's the Sarah Logan thing again. Clearly WWE doesn't think much of her, I guess. Or doesn't think that she should be in a singles position, because I felt very much like Asuka was presented as a single star, and then when we got to Kairi Sane, it was more that she was part of the Kabuki Warriors. I think she's miscast. She's a very good heel, but she's a much better babyface because she's incredibly... Well, she's just easy to cheer and easy to get behind because of her stature and the way that she handles herself. I think Nia Jax walked through her here in about 2 minutes. Kairi Sane got a few things here and there. I was also a bit confused. Who was a bad guy? Who was a good guy? So that was kind of all over the place. But that wasn't the point of this match. Again, much like the Shayna Baszler match, the other person on the other side of the ring was not the idea. The idea was Shayna Baszler's got to be a monster. Nia Jax has got to be a monster. And yes, they should be. But I can understand why people are upset with Kairi Sane. I mean, her pirate gimmick took away when we were about to do a pirate-themed event. Now, again, yeah, she feels like she's part of a dwindling tag team. I can't see the Kabuki Warriors doing much else from this point on. And that doesn't really make any sense. Even if you've only seen her work down in NXT, you know that she's capable of more. I mean, she is technically a heel, so you could even build her up for a match against Becky Lynch. And that would make sense, given that she's Asuka's best mate. But we've never even gone anywhere close to that. I don't have an answer for you, but I do understand the disappointment. Given that I don't like speaking on other people's behalves, there was just a lot of Twitter action, a lot of Twitter interaction earlier, I should say, where Kairi Sane was liking a lot of tweets of people saying, "Oh, that's not fair. You shouldn't have lost." Maybe she's a bit disillusioned. Maybe we're coming to the end of Kairi Sane's run with WWE. Complete speculation, completely guessing. But I thought I'd throw it out there. Right, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre is our new world title feud. I got no problem with it whatsoever. And we had this conversation on this very show. Who the hell else could it be? Who the hell else could it be? There was no... The only other person you could have done it with was AJ Styles, but he's dead. Randy Orton would work, but I think Edge and him are desperate to get that program going. And you could do it with Bobby Lashley, but he's not on the same level as Seth Rollins, and they both suffered the same fate because, again, I understand the reaction to this was, okay, fine, but then why did Seth Rollins lose at WrestleMania 36 to Kevin Owens? Why isn't it Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre? And it's mostly because WWE likes to do bad guy versus a good guy. That's their thing. And I like it as a program. I like Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, even though it's the same person looking at each other with their long black hair and their big beards. I think they have good matches. I think that they fit into their roles really, really well. And I think Drew McIntyre will win this feud. And I think a proper good win over Seth Rollins will actually help his reign. But it is strange. It is odd. And all the stuff with Seth Rollins throughout the night being like, I am a warrior of the night and I must fly through it. I think he's embraced his character very well and I like it. But it was a little bit odd, I suppose. But the Andrade Drew McIntyre match was great. Drew McIntyre won clean, which I kind of go back and forth with this, but in terms of how it was presented to me, I was all right with it. And again, if you're going to be the US champion, yes, you're right. Sometimes it annoys me, sometimes it doesn't. I'm a human being. I love the Zelina Vega stable, by the way, with Austin Theory, Andrade, and Angel Garza. I think those three kick ass. They're fantastic. So it kind of sucks they had a good night here, but then ultimately, when push came to shove, they lost. But we should definitely do more with them. And then, obviously, yeah, Seth Rollins comes out afterwards after Austin Theory chop blocks Drew McIntyre, curb stomps him a couple of times. And that's that. Away to the races we go. I think we got to let it play out. I do. It would be better if Seth Rollins was surrounded by Buddy Murphy in the AOP, because I think it makes him more threatening. And I like the idea of a stable versus Drew. But, I mean, Buddy Murphy's in a qualifying match next week for Money in the Bank against Rey Mysterio. AOP are out injured. So I don't think we're going to do that. But I honestly don't know who else there could be. The only silliness is that we should have just had Seth beating Kevin Owens. I don't want Kevin Owens to lose. I wanted Kevin Owens to win. I said that when we were doing the prediction show. But look, if you've got a plan and you've got a story and a narrative that you want to tell, okay, cool. Put Seth Rollins. That's the whole point. I don't have to enjoy every single twist and turn that we do, but just let it make sense. And then when we would have got here, I would have gone, oh, that's why Seth Rollins won. Because he's going back after the championship that he lost. Once Brock Lesnar's out of the picture, which he is, and probably for the foreseeable future, I don't really know what other direction you go in, is my point. Bizarrely, I am very much enjoying the fallout between Lana and Bobby Lashley, and I don't really know why. I just thought when Lana was shouting at the top of her voice and then Bobby Lashley is all like, would you calm down? I just thought it's like every relationship you've ever seen. And Bobby Lashley seems so fed up with this now. I mean, it's a ridiculous story. They only got married about 72 minutes ago and now they're getting divorced, but also certainly seeming. But I think you can have some real fun with this. I don't want WWE to treat this seriously. I want WWE to have all the fun with this. I want them to be as ridiculous as possible with it. And I want Bobby Lashley to be the typical person who is fed up with his wife. And I want Lana to be the typical wife who is fed up with her husband. And then it all just ends terribly and you send them on their merry ways. It's a little bit like we wasted our life. Yes, I agree with this, because where did it go? Nowhere. And Rusev didn't even get revenge. Rusev had that match against him and Liv Morgan against those two. Then we haven't seen him ever since. And we have absolutely no idea why. But who did he beat here? No Way Jose, who I did feel sorry for. They flew No Way Jose all the way to Florida just so that he would lose. But yeah, I dug it. I liked all the MVP stuff too. It kind of sucks again that WWE didn't have the foresight just not to mention that he was going to retire twice. Just don't say that stuff. The idea of a qualifying match between MVP and Apollo Crews for Money in the Bank is great. Have Apollo Crews win. I still think that counts as a big victory over someone like MVP. And I pair those two together. It's rare they let Apollo Crews talk. They seem more than happy to let MVP have a microphone. So why the hell not have MVP as Apollo Crews' manager? It can't hurt. It's not like they haven't done a job on Apollo Crews already. So whatever you got to do to try and turn that around. And we're getting Aleister Black versus Austin Theory, which I also think will be good. And Rey Mysterio versus Don't Call Him Buddy, Murphy. These are good matches. And again, if you who went through already for Money in the Bank, I can't even remember. But as far as I'm aware, if I can remember correctly, the amount of people that are even in qualifying matches who have won, even if we are doing it in front of a dead crowd, it should be a good Money in the Bank. Or so I hope. I hope anyway, because we need it. We need it right now. Aleister Black versus Oney Lorcan was awesome. It rocked. It got far more time than I was anticipating. I thought he may just black mass his head off and that would be that. Obviously he lost and Aleister Black won. But I thought it was a really decent match. And it's a shame that WWE won't capitalize on this. I mean, I think Oney Lorcan was only there because he's an NXT guy. But yeah, I mean, just really good. Just really, really good, I thought. I just like seeing these two go at it. And I would argue that I probably never thought I'd see that. And especially not to give them 10, I think it was just shy of 10 minutes they got. It was brilliant. Like it was brilliant. Brilliant's a bit too strong. I just enjoyed it far more than I thought. Same with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander going against the Viking Raiders. Obviously, a big part of me was mad that Ricochet and Cedric Alexander lost because I look stupid now. I was all singing their praises a week ago, going, here they come, the brand new tag team, and then they just lose. But the match was so good. You can't... I love the bit when I think we threw Ricochet onto Cedric Alexander and then Ivar just threw himself over the top rope. I thought that was really, really fun. I know they botched the finish. I never talk about botches. I'll do it here because everyone will mention it. Of course it sucks. But I've made mistakes in the ring. I didn't mean to do it, and I certainly wouldn't like some bald asshole then going, you botched up a move. I can't stand it when stuff like that happens. But no, I thought it was a great tag team match. I have no idea what the plan now is for Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. It was kind of a shame. I really think there's something there. And ideally, in a dream world, this would have been a massive feud, right? We could have built it up and had all these cool matches, and then the winner becomes the number one contender and takes on the Street Profits. But we're already moving into Street Profits versus Viking Raiders. It's a little bit too soon for me. Although I like Bianca Belair's role. Bianca Belair just shouted at Montez Ford and Dawkins here, Angelo Dawkins, when they were all goofing around. Like, stop goofing around, assholes, because you keep losing to the Viking Raiders. I thought that was good. I thought her having an authoritative, can't say that word, stance helped massively. So that was cool. What was that? Who the hell did Tozawa fight? Austin Theory. That was awesome as well. But the cool thing about both these matches is that when Zelina Vega's people had won, the whole group descended and just kicked the crap out of the other guy. That rocked to me. That's what groups should do. It's incredible that WWE is so good at this sometimes. In 3-hour show, 180 minutes, they managed to establish that group as something cool. And I knew they were a group beforehand just because, but everything they did here doubled down on that, and I loved it. I'm a massive fan of them almost instantly. We've talked about Nia Jax. The Charlotte promo was the same as the Becky Lynch promo for me. It was just they're filling time, right? They're filling time between what are we going to do with Becky Lynch, and then Charlotte will have a match with Io Shirai, but what do we do? What do we do after that? And that's fine. That's cool. Like, we're living in crazy times. I think any plans they did have, they've probably switched out to accommodate whoever the hell they can get to the arena. But we'll see. Look, overall, I liked how much wrestling there was on the show. I really, really did. I don't know how that equates to TV ratings, but I don't have to care because I'm not a statistical guy within WWE. I'm fascinated by TV ratings, but I want WWE to do well, but if it doesn't, it makes no difference to my life. So in terms of someone that enjoys watching wrestling and getting that much wrestling over 3 hours, yeah, it gets a big up from me.